In 27 BC, one city stood above the entire Mediterranean world, Rome. Not just a city anymore, not just a republic, not just another kingdom fighting for survival. Rome had become the center of the known world, from the cold frontiers of Britain to the deserts of Egypt, from the hills of Spain to the cities of Greece, from North Africa to Syria, from the Atlantic edge of Europe to the eastern roads leading toward Persia. One power dominated the sea, the roads, the armies, the laws, the taxes, the trade, and the imagination of millions. For centuries, Rome had faced terrifying enemies. Carthage, the great naval power of North Africa, the Greek kingdoms that inherited the world of Alexander the Great, the warriors of Gaul, the wealth of Egypt, the kings of the East. But by the time Augustus became the first emperor, Rome had already done something extraordinary. It had defeated almost every rival that could threaten its rise. And then, under Augustus and the emperors who followed, Rome did something even more difficult. It turned conquest into order. It turned victory into administration. It turned war into peace. A Roman peace. A peace built by roads, soldiers, law, money, fear, ambition, and one of the greatest imperial systems in history. This is the story of the Roman Empire at its height, from 27 BC to AD 180, from Augustus to Trajan, from civil war to world empire, from a city on the Tiber to the ruler of the Mediterranean world. To understand the greatness of the Roman Empire, we have to begin with a strange truth. Rome became strongest after it almost destroyed itself. Before Augustus, Rome had already conquered much of the Mediterranean, but inside the Roman world, power was tearing the Republic apart. Generals became more powerful than politicians. Armies became loyal to commanders instead of the state. Great men promised order, but often brought more violence. Julius Caesar rose to unmatched power, crossed the Rubicon, defeated his rivals, and became dictator. Then, in 44 BC, he was assassinated. His killers believed they were saving the Republic. But instead of saving Rome, they opened the door to another round of civil war. Out of that chaos came a young man named Octavian. He was Caesar's adopted son. At first, many people underestimated him. He was not the greatest warrior. He was not the most dramatic speaker. He did not look like the obvious master of Rome. But Octavian had one gift that mattered more than almost anything else. He understood power. He understood patience. He understood that Rome was exhausted. The people did not want another hero who would bring another civil war. They wanted bread. They wanted security. They wanted roads without bandits, ports without pirates, borders without constant panic. They wanted the violence to stop. Octavian defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra at Actium in 31 BC. Egypt, the ancient kingdom of the pharaohs, became Roman territory. The wealth of the Nile now flowed to Rome. And in 27 BC, Octavian took the name Augustus. The Republic still had its old titles. The Senate still met. Officials still had traditional names. But everyone understood the truth. The age of one man had begun. Rome now had an emperor. Augustus was not just a conqueror, he was a builder of systems. That is why his achievement mattered so much. Many rulers can win battles. Far fewer can build a machine that continues after them. Augustus reorganized the army. He created a more stable professional military force. He secured many frontiers. He improved roads. He encouraged building projects. He reshaped the city of Rome itself. Later tradition remembered him as the ruler who found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. But the more important transformation was not only stone, it was political. Augustus made monarchy look like tradition. He did not call himself king. Romans hated kings. Instead, he presented himself as princeps, the first citizen. He claimed to restore the Republic while quietly keeping the real power. It was one of the most successful political performances in ancient history, and it worked because Rome wanted stability more than it wanted old slogans. After generations of fear, the Roman world could breathe again. This was the beginning of what later historians called the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. But we should not misunderstand that phrase. It did not mean there were no wars. Rome still fought at the borders. Rome still crushed revolts. Rome still expanded when emperors saw opportunity. The Roman peace meant something different. It meant that inside the empire's core, across the Mediterranean world, no enemy could truly challenge Roman control. A merchant could sail from Egypt to Italy under Roman protection. A governor in Spain answered to the same imperial system as a governor in Syria. Roman coins moved through markets across 3 continents. Roman roads tied distant provinces to the capital. Roman law gave structure to an empire filled with many languages, gods, and peoples. It was not peace in the modern sense. It was imperial order, and for the ancient world, that order was astonishing. Rome's power did not appear overnight. It was built by defeating one great rival after another. First came Carthage. For a long time, Carthage was Rome's nightmare. Carthage controlled a maritime empire in the western Mediterranean. Its ships were feared. Its wealth was enormous. Its greatest general, Hannibal, crossed the Alps and invaded Italy with war elephants. For years, Hannibal terrified Rome on its own soil. At one point, it seemed possible that Rome might fall. But Rome did not collapse. Rome absorbed disaster. Rome kept raising armies. Rome kept fighting. By 146 BC, Carthage was destroyed as a military and political rival. The Western Mediterranean no longer had 2 superpowers. It had one: Rome. Rome fought them, defeated them, and gradually absorbed their world. The conqueror was conquered culturally. Roman elites admired Greek art, Greek philosophy, Greek literature, and Greek education. But politically and militarily, Greece became part of the Roman order. Then came Gaul. Julius Caesar's campaigns in Gaul brought vast territory under Roman control. The fierce peoples beyond the Alps were no longer simply outside enemies. Large parts of their land became Roman provinces. Then came Egypt. Egypt was ancient, wealthy, symbolic, and strategically priceless. Its grain could feed Rome. Its history reached back thousands of years. Its queen, Cleopatra, became part of the final drama of the Roman Republic. After Actium, Egypt fell under Roman rule. That victory mattered enormously. With Egypt controlled, Rome had the wealth of the Nile. With Carthage gone, Rome had no Western Mediterranean rival. With the Greek kingdoms defeated, Rome controlled the old centers of Eastern civilization. With Gaul conquered, Rome had pushed deep into Western Europe. By the time Augustus ruled, Rome was not merely strong. Rome had removed the major rivals around it. That is one reason the Roman Empire belongs in a series about the most powerful civilizations of their time. It had no equal in the Mediterranean world. The secret of Rome was not only conquest. Conquest is loud, administration is quiet. But administration is what made the empire last. A Roman road was more than a road. It was a military tool. It allowed soldiers to move quickly. It was a commercial tool. It allowed goods to travel. It was a political tool. It connected provinces to the center. A Roman legion was more than an army. It was a symbol. It told every province that Rome was watching. It told enemies beyond the frontier that invasion would be answered. It told local elites that cooperation with Rome was safer than rebellion. A Roman city was more than a settlement. It was a miniature version of Roman order. Forums, baths, temples, theaters, aqueducts, walls, markets, public buildings. The empire did not erase every local culture. That was part of its genius. Rome often allowed local customs, local gods, and local elites to continue, as long as they accepted Roman authority, paid taxes, and did not rebel. This made Roman rule flexible. A person in North Africa, Spain, Gaul, Greece, or Asia Minor could become part of the Roman system without becoming identical to everyone else. Over time, Roman citizenship expanded. Local elites learned Latin or Greek. Over time, Roman citizenship expanded. Local elites learned Latin or Greek. Provincial families entered Roman politics. Some emperors themselves came from outside Italy. If Augustus created the imperial system, Trajan showed how far that system could reach. Trajan became emperor in AD 98. He was not born in Rome itself, but in Hispania, in modern Spain. That fact alone tells us something important. The empire had grown so large and so integrated that a man from the provinces could become emperor of Rome. Trajan was a soldier emperor, a builder emperor, a ruler who wanted glory, order, and expansion. Under Trajan, the Roman Empire reached its greatest territorial extent. His campaigns against Dacia brought wealth and new territory north of the Danube. His eastern wars pushed Roman power deep toward Mesopotamia. For a moment, the empire seemed to stretch farther than ever before. This was Rome at its most confident. Its armies crossed rivers, its engineers built bridges, its administrators organized provinces. Its monuments told the world that Rome was not just ruling the present. Rome was writing its victory into stone. Trajan's column in Rome became one of the most famous monuments of imperial propaganda. It did not simply say that Trajan had won, it showed victory as a story. Soldiers marching, fortifications rising, enemies defeated, the emperor commanding. The message was clear. Rome was order. Rome was power. Rome was destiny. But even here, at the empire's greatest expansion, we see an important truth. Rome was powerful, but not limitless. Beyond the frontiers were peoples and kingdoms that could resist. Parthia in the east remained a serious rival. Germanic peoples beyond the Rhine and Danube could not simply be absorbed forever. The empire could win great victories, but every new border created new problems. Trajan expanded. Hadrian, his successor, pulled back in some places and focused more on defense. This was not weakness, it was strategy. A wise empire must know not only how to conquer, it must know where to stop. After Trajan came Hadrian, then Antoninus Pius, then Marcus Aurelius. This period is often remembered as part of the age of the 5 good emperors. It was not perfect. No empire is perfect. Rome depended on slavery. Rome could be brutal to rebels. Its peace was often maintained by force. Many people lived under Roman rule without having chosen it. But compared with the chaos that came before and the crisis that would come later, this was one of the most stable periods in ancient imperial history. For many people inside the empire, life could be predictable. Taxes were heavy, but systems existed. Law courts existed, trade networks existed, cities flourished. The Mediterranean Sea became almost like a Roman lake. Ships carried grain, wine, oil, metal, pottery, and luxury goods. Ideas moved too. Religions spread, philosophies traveled, languages connected people across long distances. A soldier from one province could serve in another. A merchant from the east could trade in the west. An educated person could quote Greek authors while living under Roman law. This is why the Roman Empire was not only a military power, it was a cultural and economic world. Rome controlled the center of movement, the sea, the roads, the cities, the legal framework, the imperial image. The empire shaped how millions imagined power, citizenship, civilization, and order. Even centuries after the Western Empire fell, people still looked back to Rome. Kings wanted Roman titles. Church leaders used Roman structures. Law codes remembered Roman ideas. Cities copied Roman forms. The Roman Empire did not disappear from history when its political system changed. It became one of the foundations of later Western civilization. But every golden age contains the shadow of its ending. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, ruled from AD 161 to AD 180. He is often remembered as a wise ruler, a thinker, a man who wrote about discipline, duty, and the inner life while carrying the burden of empire. But his reign was not peaceful. Rome faced wars along the northern frontiers. The empire also suffered from plague. The calm surface of the Pax Romana began to crack. Marcus Aurelius spent much of his reign with the army. He did not rule from a world of comfort. He ruled from the edge of danger. And when he died in AD 180, many historians mark that moment as the end of Rome's greatest age. His son Commodus followed him. The age of the 5 good emperors was over. The empire still remained powerful. Rome did not fall immediately, not even close. But the feeling changed. The long confidence of the Pax Romana began to fade. The 3rd century would bring civil wars, invasions, economic stress, plague, and political instability. The empire that had seemed unshakable would have to fight for survival again. This is what makes Rome's golden age so dramatic. It was not eternal, it looked eternal. That is different. At its height, Rome seemed like the permanent center of the world. But history teaches us that even the strongest systems depend on leadership, institutions, resources, borders, and trust. When those weaken, even the greatest empire can begin to tremble. So why was the Roman Empire one of the most powerful civilizations of its time? First, because it defeated its major rivals. Carthage was gone. The Greek kingdoms were absorbed. Gaul was conquered. Egypt became a Roman possession. The Mediterranean world no longer had a balance of equal powers. It had Roman supremacy. Second, because Rome controlled geography. The Mediterranean Sea connected the empire instead of dividing it. Rome controlled both shores, Europe, North Africa, the Near East. This gave Rome military reach, commercial strength, and strategic depth. Third, because Rome built institutions, roads, law, citizenship, professional armies, provincial administration, urban systems, tax collection, imperial communication. These are not as dramatic as battles, but they are what made victory last. Fourth, because Rome knew how to absorb. It did not rule only by destroying. It ruled by recruiting local elites, by spreading citizenship, by allowing provincial identity to exist inside Roman loyalty, by making conquered people part of the system. And fifth, because Rome created an idea of order so powerful that later civilizations kept trying to inherit it. The word emperor, the idea of a universal empire, the image of law spreading from a capital, the dream of a peaceful world under one authority. These ideas did not begin only with Rome, but Rome made them unforgettable. In 27 BC, Augustus stood over a broken republic and gave Rome a new form. By AD 117, under Trajan, Rome reached its greatest territorial size. By AD 180, under Marcus Aurelius, the greatest age of Roman peace and stability was ending. For more than 2 centuries, Rome stood as the dominant power of the Mediterranean world. It had defeated the enemies around it. It had turned the sea into a highway. It had made distant provinces part of one imperial system. It had built roads that carried soldiers and merchants. It had built cities that carried Roman culture. It had built laws that outlived the empire itself. The Roman Empire was not great because it never faced danger. It was great because for a long time no rival could truly threaten its core. Its enemies could attack the frontiers. They could win battles. They could cause fear. But for generations, the center held. Rome ruled. And the world around the Mediterranean lived under the shadow of one empire. That is why the Roman Empire, from Augustus to Marcus Aurelius, belongs among history's most powerful civilizations. Because for a moment in world history, the question was not whether Rome would survive. The question was how far Rome could go.